Welcome to Unicorns Talk Podcast, your weekly girl talk about Black women, our healing, and manifestation. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, your life enhancement coach, and together we're going to live, laugh, and learn to love all of life's little messes. While I am a licensed clinician, please keep in mind that this show is not a substitute for your own relationship with a mental health provider. Let's go. Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 47 of Unicorns Talk Podcast. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, and it is finally here. After like what literally felt like forever, I will be performing my show, this show, Unicorns Talk Podcast, live in Atlanta this Saturday at APOD Connection ATL Podcasting Conference. Y'all can't see it right now, but listen, I'm doing spirit fingers right now. I am so freaking excited about having the opportunity to like experience everything that I'm about to experience this weekend. There's gonna be a lot of firsts for me this weekend, so that always like adds a little spice to the pot. You know, this is my first time really like going to Atlanta as an adult and doing like adult shit in Atlanta. So that's exciting, you know. I'm looking forward to that. But more importantly, this is my first time performing my show live in front of an audience. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm no stranger to being on a stage and speaking in front of large groups of people. I mean, like it's kind of my thing, you know? But I've never done a show like this before, if that makes sense. Like when I'm sitting at home and I'm recording, the show, like even right now, like when I'm sitting at home and I'm recording, I visualize y'all on the other end, but it's really more like I'm talking to you, right? Like one individual person, and I go about it like this. Like this is a conversation, like for real, for real. Like I really visualize one person sitting there. But this time I'm actually going to be talking to y'all face to face, and we're going to have so much fun. Like I'm just so excited about this. As I told y'all last week, the topic for the live show is going to be unstuck and unbothered, overcoming the 30 something crisis. So, my vision for the show is to, of course, like provide y'all with some palatable information and like some actionable steps. That's always my goal with every single episode, to make sure that you can take the information I'm giving you and actually start using it in your life almost immediately, right? But I also want this to be an enjoyable experience for everybody in the audience. And so we're going to have us a good ass, black ass time. I'm really excited about this, if y'all cannot tell. I'm leaving some time at the end to take questions. So make sure you're ready to come and get your whole life together. Okay. The conference is taking place from Friday to Sunday, October 5th through the 7th. And there's an entire weekend of events planned, including a free meet and greet, which is going to be an all black party that Friday night at Bamboo Lounge. It's going to be hosted by Jaden Hollywood of Unapologetic Podcast. And Jaden is also going to be serving as one of the conference co hosts. He's one of the conference organizers, along with Empress Nick. And so this is going to be like awesome and amazing because, Jaden knows how to throw a party or whatever. So I'm excited about that. I haven't been out in so freaking long, y'all. So if you're in the Atlanta area and you can't make it to the live show, at least come and see me at the meet and greet on Friday night. And you could get you a Unicorn Talk Pod. Excuse me, a unicorns. I had got excited, y'all. I had got excited. You can get you a Unicorns Talk Pod t shirt and a hug. I love hugs. Or you could get a high five. I really do love high fives. And so I'm all about a good high five. You know, you're never too old for a good high five. I really cannot wait to see y'all's faces, and I'm so ready for the turn up, like for real, for real. Then on Saturday, they have a full day planned of keynotes and panels, and of course, the live shows. So the day is going to start at like 8 o'clock in the morning, but the live shows are from 12 to 3. And so I'm scheduled to take the stage right around 2 o'clock. So make sure you have your booties in the seats or whatever. And I'm just as interested in attending the conference, though. Like, I'm going to be there real early because, like, I'm going to be there for 8 o'clock because the keynote lineup that they have, like the whole thing, y'all, the whole conference is bananas. Like for real, for real. I feel like I've used that word multiple times to describe this conference, and I think, that's it because it's fitting. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just as interested in attending the conference. So I'm gonna be there like bright and early with my Trust Village swag on because I'm not trying to miss nothing. Okay, and so hopefully you'll have yourself in the building as well. Then Sunday is the brunch collaboration with Soul Food Sundays at Bone Lick Barbecue in Atlanta from 12 to 4. So listen, I feel like any place called Bone Lick, I need to see what that's about. Like I need to see what they talking about over there. You know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like I need to have that experience at some point. Like bone lick barbecue. You know how serious that is? Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just me, but that just seems like that's a place that I need to eat the barbecue from if you licking the bones and shit like that serious. So anyway, Soul Food Sundays, it's a end of summer brunch collaboration and at Bone Lick Barbecue in Atlanta from 12 to 4. There's going to be bottomless mimosas, cocktails, and rum punch. It's going to be karaoke. It's just all around good food, good music, and good vibes. It is free again to RSVP, and you can reserve a table if you choose at soulfoodsundays.com. That's SOLFOODSUNDAYS.com to let them know that you're going to be there. This weekend definitely promises to be one for the books, like for real, for real. And it's not too late to get your tickets. Just go to apodconnectionatl.splashthat.com and use the coupon code Unicorns Talk, all caps, 2 words, to get $5 off. It's going down, and I'm so excited. And I get to spend some time with my family and stuff. I got some little cousins I haven't seen in a while that live in the Atlanta area. And like, y'all, it's going down, and I hope to see you in the place. If you haven't already, please make sure that you rate, comment, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you're listening right now. You can use the hashtag Unicorns Talk Pod across all of your social media to let me know that you're listening. Make sure that you're sharing it in your stories, sharing it on your timeline. Tag me directly at Latrice Sampson Richards or tag the show at Unicorns Talk Pod so I can see it, and I will absolutely give you a special shout out or whatever. Like, well, I'm going to acknowledge it right then and there. I keep saying I'm gonna give y'all a shout out, but I don't be giving shout outs like that. I mean, I do, but I don't. I mean, at the end of the show, I do, but y'all get what I'm saying. But anyway, let me know you're listening or whatever. I would greatly appreciate that. And let's see. So October is breast cancer awareness month. So I really I couldn't miss the opportunity to kind of take a pause for the cause and have a discussion with y'all about taking care of your mental and emotional health when you're faced with a breast cancer or any cancer, for that matter, diagnosis. And so this week, we have that's what we're focusing on for this week. When you are waging war against cancer, it's literally like the fight of your life, right? And so many of us don't realize the mental and emotional toll that it can have on us. And so I'm really, really proud of this episode because there's something there for everybody. So whether you are currently in the fight against cancer, or you're in prevention mode, recovery mode, or you are the loved one of one of the millions of warriors who are refusing to give up, this episode is for you. I had a chance to sit down with Tiah Tomlin, who is a breast cancer survivor herself, as well as an advocate. Tiah is a visionary, an entrepreneur, a warrior for women, and a champion of causes. She sets goals for success and employs tremendous tenacity in completing them. Using her career as a training and development professional in the pharmaceutical industry as a catalyst to catapult her to industry leader status, Tiah relocated to Atlanta, Georgia from her home in Richmond, Virginia. She co founded My Style Matters LLC, which is a company that produced unique, stylish events to raise awareness and funding for worthwhile causes while encouraging healthy lifestyles. In 2015, her company landed a partnership with the Veterans Empowerment Organization and the American Cancer Society to raise awareness for prostate cancer and collected suits for veterans via a fun run event called the 5K Suit Run. It was during this time that her plans were interrupted with her own diagnosis of triple negative breast cancer, as she calls it, which I freaking love. Can't, sir. Hallelujah. And she explains in the interview why she calls it that. And so anyway, this attack really changed her focus and birthed a new vision for her. My Breast Years Ahead Atlanta, which is a Facebook community that she created to help women who have been affected by any form of cancer in the Atlanta area. She uses this group to connect women, provide support, and share their journey, ensuring that no sister in the battle for her life walks this journey alone, which is so necessary. Like, it's so needed. Tia's efforts to provide strength for vulnerable women fighting breast cancer have been nationally recognized. She is currently enrolled in a cancer coaching program and will be attending Project Lead Institute with the National Breast Cancer Coalition to learn more about the science behind breast cancer. As a result of her hard work as a patient advocate, Tiah was the 2017 I Will Survive Hope Award recipient, the 2017 Charge Up Campaign Survivor Award recipient, and the January 2018 Point of Light Award recipient. Recently, Tiah has turned her company, My Style Matters, into a nonprofit organization that embraces a twofold mission of youth empowerment by means of art and etiquette education and wraparound cancer health and wellness support through sustainable lifestyle educational opportunities to youth, adults, and veterans. She has dedicated herself to being a community change agent and advocate by fighting against cancer through speaking about prevention and increasing awareness. Make sure you get your pen and paper out because she is dropping some serious knowledge on us today. She's the perfect person for us to have this conversation with. And I am so proud that I have an opportunity to be able to share her with you. So, like I said, make sure you get your pen and paper out and enjoy. I am so happy to have you on my show today. Thank you so much for agreeing to sit down with me. And I know that you are a ridiculously busy woman. And so I appreciate you for taking the time to, share with my audience and share with me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of the podcast to just talk about my journey and share with men and women about things that they can do to just overcome overcome the obstacles of life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm definitely looking forward to us having that conversation and everything that you have to share. When we were preparing for this to start recording, you asked me like, how did you even find me? And I was thinking about that before I logged on for our interview today. And I was like, where did I find her at. And you know what I think it is? Are you in the crafting group, Black Girls Craft?
Yes, I am.
That's where I found you. I love that group. Oh my goodness. I love that group. And so I'm a crafter, I'm a DIYer. I love doing like upcycling things and furniture and things like that. And I think I saw you posted something in that group one day, and it was I don't even remember what it was, but I think it was something about it was something related to your recovery. And I was like, oh, how cool is that? And then they did a thing where it was like a follow thing. And so I think, I ended up following like 30 people from the group. And then we all started following each other. And ever since then, you consistently come up on my timeline. So I've been watching you, like just kind of following you. I don't want to say I was like, I'm not stalking you or nothing. But I've been following you probably for about 6 months or so now, and just kind of seeing how you move through your journey, and you share so much about your journey and your process of recovery. And so when I was preparing for season 2 of Unicorn Talk podcast, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to reach out to her and just see if she's willing to do it, because I know that there's so many women who listen to my show who are going through that, and we all need somebody that is kind of like an OG, in that area that can help us to kind of move through that process.
Yes, awesome. That's interesting that you found me there. So I'm just chuckling. It's amazing how, when you share your story, you never know who you touch and who you impact. I mean, just you alone, we've never met, and you follow me through a group, and you've been following me for 6 months and I never knew it. So it, you just never know whose life you will touch.
You are so, so right. Like I say that all the time. You never freaking know. Like people are watching you and you don't even realize it. And that's why it's so important to like always put your best foot forward, because you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's paying attention, and you never know when something you say or something you do might make a significant positive impact on somebody else's life. So I'm excited to have you here, Tiah, and to share your story, and just to let everybody know who you are and what it is that you do. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I want you to start off by sharing your own personal journey. So, for those who don't know, I'm just going to give a really brief, snippet. For those who may not know, Tiah is a recovering from a bout with cancer. I don't even know, like, what is it, the official way to say that? Because I don't want to say like you're recovering from a cancer diagnosis. Like I feel like that's not the right way to say it. So like what is the official way to say? Is it just cancer survivor?
Well, it's funny that you asked that question because every survivor chooses something different. We all have different terms. We all have different words. Some people don't use the word cancer. Some people use the word cancer. Some people say that they are survivors. Some people call themselves warriors. Some people say thrivers. So it's just all different in how people view their own journey. So for me, I'm fine with you calling me any of those, because at the end of the day, I am all of those. So however you choose to say it, I'm okay. The only thing that I don't use is the word remission. I choose to say I'm a cancer survivor and I'm cancer free. So
What is it about the word remission that you don't like?
So when you think of the word remission, if you actually look up the definition, it is something that is in a place of dormancy, if you will. And to me, I just feel like the word remission is saying, well, it may come back. It's just laying dormant right now. It's, the doctors will not tell you that you're cancer free. They will say no evidence of disease or NED, and they will say you're in remission right now. So I don't like to use the word remission because I stood on faith with my journey. I trusted and believed God wholeheartedly that I was healed. I saw myself as healed, and I'm still standing on faith that I am healed. Yes, medically, it is considered to be NED, no evidence of disease and remission. I just don't choose that word because I don't want to put that label on me that the cancer can return. Even though I understand it medically, my God is a higher power. And I just believe in his word over, the medical terminology. So I just trust and believe that I'm cancer free for the rest of my life.
That's powerful. It really is. I say all the time, and I think this is a perfect example of that, but I say all the time that words have meaning, like words have meaning, and we definitely have to be aware and cautious about the words that we use to define ourselves and the words that we speak over ourselves and speak over
Yeah.
our lives. And I think that's exactly what I hear you saying. Like, I refuse to take ownership of that. I refuse to take ownership of the possibility of that happening. I'm going to claim disease free, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to claim
Yeah.
healing over remission. I love that. That's awesome and amazing. I'm so excited about this interview. I just want to say that again. I
Thank
really am.
you.
I feel like this is, this is going to be a really, really dynamic interview. And so I'm looking forward to it. So
Absolutely.
let's talk about your personal journey of triumph over cancer. I think I would like to start at the very beginning because I've never experienced going through receiving a cancer diagnosis. Thankfully, I've never been in that place, but there are a lot of women who have. And so why don't you start there, if you're okay with that? I know you said that there's nothing that's off limits, so I would like for you to start there, the moment that you learned of your cancer diagnosis, and just kind of take us through that journey of what the process of accepting that diagnosis was like for you.
Sure. Well, I'll back up a little bit because it starts before the diagnosis. And how it started for me is since I was in the seventh grade, I learned in sexual education class that we were supposed to do self-breast exams. And so all of my life, I've done self-breast exams. You get in the shower, you raise your arm, you feel around your breast while you're taking a shower. And I think it's important for women to get to know their breast and feel their breast. And I've been doing it, like I said, since I was in the seventh grade. And so fast forward, I was in the shower and I felt the lump doing a self-breast exam. And it was ironic because, or I'm not going to say ironic, it was a little odd to me because the week before I was in Jamaica with my friends having a good time, and because I'm so used to doing self-breast exams, I did it the week before and I didn't feel anything. And so the week that I felt it, it literally took my breath away. I was just dumbfounded that I felt this knot. I mean, it was very prominent in my breast. And I knew immediately, that was cancer. But I did not want to receive it. I did not want to speak it over my life. I tried to stay as positive as I could. And so when I felt the lump, um, it completely blew me away. And so I called my doctor. I went ahead and made an appointment. I actually called my gynecologist and made an appointment for her to, examine it. The next morning when I woke up, I tried to psych myself out of it, thinking, oh, maybe that's just fatty tissue. I've never had any issues with my breast, no fibroids, fibrocystic breast, none of that. And so that's why, when I said I knew it was cancer, I just felt like my brother was diagnosed with testicular cancer just 4 years prior to the diagnosis of myself. So it was, I remember him, his wife saying she felt a lump on him. And so to feel what I felt, that it was not there a week ago, and here I am, 38 years old, never having any issues with my breast, why all of a sudden will I have issues? And I didn't experience any pain or any discharge, anything. So I knew immediately what it was. but I didn't want to receive it. So I went to my doctor. The next morning, tried to psych myself out. I laid down and did a self breast exam because now they're saying they prefer women to do self breast exams laying down. So I tried to do the breast exam laying down and I did not feel it. But when I sat up, I felt it again. So I said to myself, it's a $25 copay. Go see your doctor. When I went, she felt it and she went ahead and ordered up an ultrasound. And she said if they need to do any further testing, they will. So I went to the breast care facility, had a ultrasound done. They called me back and said they needed to do a mammogram. I did the mammogram, and then they told me that day that they're going to have me to come back because they need to do a biopsy. They found calcification in my breast.
In that moment, like when you received that phone call, what was that moment like for you? What went through your mind in that moment?
Yeah, what they told me while I was there, and what was just scary to me at the time when I was sitting in the waiting room. First of all, it was somber. There's no music, there's no television playing. It's women in gowns sitting in the waiting room to be called to go back for a mammogram. And that is a scary time in a woman's life because you never want to hear the words cancer. It's cancer. And sitting in that room, knowing I had a lump in my breast, all I could do was just try to be as positive as I could and fight through those emotions of doubt, of fear, of just all of those types of emotions coming over you. And so here I am sitting there, I had the first test and then they said, we need you to go back. And I'm like, okay. So I go back, they have me sit in the waiting room again. And I'm seeing women go in, come out and leave, but I'm still there. And so the more and more I sat there, the more and more I began to get worried. And so when I left, before I left, they told me that I needed to come back for a biopsy. And it was like, but you don't want to receive it. You just try to stay positive. I didn't share it with my family at the time. I eventually shared it with my family. But I didn't want to tell them because, like I said, my brother had been diagnosed just a few years prior. That same year, I lost my grandfather. A week later, my dad had a major stroke and my mother had a heart attack. So, I didn't want to share that kind of news with my family. But at the point that they said you need a biopsy, I was afraid. I was afraid because I didn't want to hear those words.
You said eventually you shared with your family. Like how long was it before you told your family?
So I would say I was diagnosed from the first week in June is when I felt the lump to I was diagnosed on the 17th of June. So I didn't tell my family until the 17th was on a Wednesday. I told them that Sunday night that I had to have a biopsy, which was that Monday. So maybe a few days.
Yeah.
I shared it with my family. I shared it with my mother and father.
So it wasn't too long. I've heard of stories of people who go through entire courses of treatment without telling their families that this is something that they're dealing with. And it's like a part of me understands the thought process behind that, but then a part of me doesn't understand the thought process behind that either, because I understand not wanting to get people upset, or there's so much other stuff going on, not wanting to be a burden and things like that. But at the same time, you need some type of support system as you're going through this kind of stuff, right? This is not something that I would ever want to endure alone. And so it's kind of like isolating yourself doesn't necessarily make the situation better, would you say?
Yes, totally. You have to communicate. You have to share with those that you trust. When I shared it with my family, it was my mother and my father. I went home and I'm from Virginia, so I went home and shared it with my mom and my dad when I knew that I needed a biopsy. And the reason why I shared it with them is because, one, I remember being When my mother was younger, she had fibrocystic breast. So I wanted to inform her to understand what was that experience like for her. So that was one reason why I told them. The other reason was prayer. At the point that they're telling me I need to come back for a biopsy, that was scary. And I wanted to make sure that my father prayed over me. I'm not married, so my father is, the head of me. He's over me. He's my covering. And so, I had my mom and my dad to feel the lump. And my mom said that, the lump felt like what she had when she was younger, fibrocystic breast. And my father said, yeah, this felt like what your mom had. And at that point, he laid hands over me. He prayed over me. My mother prayed over me. And then that Monday, I went for the biopsy. I flew back to Atlanta and had my biopsy. So I definitely would agree. You need to share it with someone, because holding those emotions in and not letting it out just only makes the situation worse. It only makes it worse.
Yeah, and I think that it's not just in a case of receiving like a major diagnosis like this or something like that. I think that that's in life in general, like we have to have those outlets. We have to be able to communicate with people. We have to be able to talk to the people that we love and the people that we trust, who can be there for us and can be a support system for us and things like that. Because isolating yourself is the worst thing that you can do. It's the fastest way to find yourself in a depression. And actually, I know that there's a lot of research that shows that your mental state as you're going through specifically cancer treatment can really have an impact on your overall outcome. And so if you're isolating yourself and you're slipping deeper and deeper into a depression and just this overwhelming sense of alone and loneliness, you may actually be doing more harm than good in terms of your treatment, right?
Yeah. The biggest thing I would say in this journey is your state of mind. Everything that you're going to go through and experience is going to be tough. I mean, whether it's this journey, of cancer or some other journey, I mean, we're all going to go through something in life that is challenging. And I just think it's so important that you share and have that outlet. So I totally agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So you have the biopsy. Obviously, it came back that there were cancerous cells there, and so you start this course of treatment. Did you do chemo, or what was your treatment journey like?
Yes. So I started off with chemo. I had a port put in, and I started off with chemo. I had 8 rounds of chemo. 2 different types of drugs. One is called ACT. Some people call it it's adriamycin. Some people call it the red devil. We didn't call it the red devil, of course, because I'm like, devil, cancer, no. We called it the blood of the lamb. And then the
I
other,
love that. I love that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's mindset, right? It's
it is. It
perspective.
really is. I mean, for me, it's, I just felt like, there was nothing my parents could do. When you think you go through something when you're a kid, you have a boo-boo and your parents can coddle you and make you feel better. Kiss it, make you feel better, put a little Band-Aid on it, put something on it, and you're fine. But in this case, it's like, there's nothing no one can do. The immediate thought for most survivors is death. But you get past that. You have that moment. And for some, they stay there. For others, they have just a quick moment and get out of it. And realize, yeah, I can beat this. You have to have that mindset. No, I'm going to beat this thing. And so in that, for me, I knew it was something that my parents couldn't do. They couldn't just kiss it away. A significant other couldn't do anything. My doctors couldn't do anything. I had to totally 110% trust God and depend on him. And so it was a mindset. I made a decision to believe. I made a decision to see myself as healed. I made a decision to go through it and find happiness and joy, and not focus on the storm, but focus on his word. And that was that I was healed.
Absolutely. The storm, I love I think the symbolism of using that as a descriptor, the storm and going through that storm in terms of your treatment journey and things like that. And of course, I love the fact that you choose or you chose not to focus on that, but the storms did come, right? Like you
Yes,
did have those days that were just hard, extremely difficult days. So
absolutely.
how were you able to manage those days or to get through those days? I used to work with when I was in private practice, like with a brick and mortar private practice. I worked with a young lady who was going through chemo treatments, and she was young, maybe like 26 or something like that. And she had a young child, about 2 or 3 years old. And she and her husband were just like, her husband was not there for her at all. And, she would just talk about those, like most of the time she would be okay because she believed in God and she believed that God, was going to support her and things like that. But those stormy days, like those really difficult days that would come, typically for her, it was like the day after she did her chemo treatment was really rough for her, to the point sometimes where like she couldn't even show up for her appointments,
Yeah.
for her counseling appointments, and not having that support system there was extremely difficult for her. And so what was it like for you? Like how did you manage those stormy days, when they did come? Because there's a lot of people, I'm sure, listening, or some people at the very least listening right now, that are going through this journey, and when those stormy days come, they don't know what to do. So how did you manage those days in concrete terms?
I would say, like I said, a lot of it's a decision. I did have tough days. I mean, there were days I wanted to just throw in a towel and give up, but I had to remember a few things. One, crying wasn't going to do anything. It was actually going to make me feel worse. And I knew I was fighting. I was in a fight for my life. And I said, if I'm going to win, I have to have the right tools to win. I have to equip myself and gird myself up to get through this thing. And so when I would have those moments, because trust me, I did, I had to remember it's okay to have a moment, but don't stay there. Because if I stay there, it can plant a seed, and next thing I know, take root. And now I'm in a dark place and I
Yes.
can't get out of it. And so I had to find that way. The other thing is, yes, I had family support. My family loved me. I didn't share it with a lot of people. My job was actually laying off at the time, and I couldn't afford to lose my job. Not just about the income, it was the insurance that was big for me. So, I did go to support groups, to just try to connect with other women that were going through what I was experiencing, so that I could have a better understanding. My family had empathy, but they hadn't gone through it, aside from my brother, who wasn't in Atlanta, he's in Virginia. Um, they really didn't understand what I was challenged with and what I was experiencing. And so connecting with other women, whether it was through social media, if I couldn't get out, or if I could get out, going to a support group, that really helped me. And then prayer, getting in the word, reading the word. I would put on music. I would watch comedy shows. I wouldn't watch anything that was going to bring me down. I didn't watch any news on TV. I watched funny sitcoms, things that was going to uplift me and keep me going. I put on praise music, and some R&B, some old school, and I would just, try to have a moment where I could dance if I was feeling it. And also what helped me too was I volunteered at Camp Hope. And also at the same time, my company, right before I was diagnosed, we had actually partnered with American Cancer Society to put on an event to raise awareness for prostate cancer called the 5K Suit Run. So that kind of kept me busy. Even though I, had those moments, I was sick, I just had to keep saying, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Your faith is your healing power. Get up. Get up
Yeah.
and take your bed. You got this. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have that moment. It's okay to get frustrated. but I had to find ways to laugh through it. I had to, sometimes we think about the glass being half empty. Some say it's half full, but I'm thankful that I had a glass with something in it. So,
Hallelujah. Yes,
you know,
ma'am.
I just
Yeah.
had to look at all of that. And in the very beginning, when I got that phone call on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, it's amazing how you remember it to the T. 4 o'clock Wednesday on the 17th of June in 2015. When I got that phone call, I had a decision to make. Am I going to lay down and succumb to this? Or am I going to get up and fight? And I surrendered. I said, God, let your will be done. Even if this is unto my demise, even if this thing takes me out of here and you're ready for me to be called home, God, let your will be done, and I'm okay with that. I had to settle that issue within me. And I said, if you see me to get through this, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to help others. So I kept that on my mind to keep me positive, because I felt like this journey was just not about me. Yes, I learned a lot from it, and I needed it in terms of learning, the learnings, but I knew that it was more than just me. It's for me to get something out of it, for God to get a testimony out of my life, for me to go back and help other people. So I would say anybody who's going through something like what I went through, or it could be, some other devastating situation in your life, it's all about our perspective. How do we take lemons and make lemonade, literally? And so, it's okay to have those moments, but remember, let it be a moment. Don't let it plant a seed, because it can cause you to stay there and you can't get out of it.
That's so true. It really is. That's so true. You mentioned Camp Hope. What is that?
So Camp Hope, and I didn't mean to say Camp Hope, it's actually the Hope Lodge. I
Okay.
did attend a Camp Hope, but Hope Lodge is where I volunteered. And that is like a housing facility for cancer patients who are traveling into Atlanta or other cities where they need to have treatment. So their disease, either they could live in a rural town that they really don't have services there to really help support them in their cancer, journey. So, or their treatment plan. So they can travel here to Atlanta to maybe one of the major hospitals, Emory or Northside or Grady. So it's a housing facility. It's a lodge. They call it the Hope Lodge. And it's where that they go. So I volunteered. We provided food. I was actually going through chemo. And so being around those survivors, and some of their situations were worse than mine, it just really, I don't know, it just did something. It just made me feel good that I was able to be there among other people who are going through the same thing I'm going through. I'm just in a different position to be able to help them. Some of
Yeah.
them were very sick.
Absolutely. I think you're a special kind of person though, just listening to you talk and hearing everything that you went through along your journey, and uh, in terms of processing it all, and uh, changing your perspective about it, or, choosing your perspective about it, and just the whole way that you went about doing it, I think just kind of lets me know that you ain't like the other girls. You ain't like the other girls, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because even so, when was your official ring the bell kind of day for you, right? Because isn't that's a big thing, right? Ringing the bell for your final treatment, is it, I believe? when
Yes.
when was that, for when did that happen for you?
So for me, I had two moments because I didn't get a chance to ring the bell. The facility that I went to didn't actually have a bell.
Oh,
So I would say the first one was November 19th when I had my surgery, and they came back and said no evidence of disease, meaning that there was no cancer in my body. So that was a hallelujah praise moment. If I had a bell, if I had a few bells, I would have been ringing them. I felt like Eve, shake your tambourine.
yeah. Yes.
And so I finished all of my treatments on 3/10, March 10th, 2016. So that's when everything was done in terms of my treatments.
Okay. Okay. So 2016 you said, right?
2016. Yep.
Okay, all right. And so, you talked about a lot of the volunteer work and things like that that you did while you were still going through your treatment journey. When did you decide to start your own type of organization? Because you are the co-owner of an organization called My Style Matters. And tell us a little bit about the work that you do with My Style Matters and what led you to do that.
Sure. So when I was going through my journey, I when I got the diagnosis, I did not want to go the conventional route. I really did not want to go the conventional route, which is chemo, surgery, and radiation. Because I had an understanding of chemo is a carcinogen. It is a cancer-causing chemical that is going into my body. So, with the radiation, you hear a lot about, and studies have shown that radiation causes cancer too. So for me, I did not want to do that. And I did a lot of research while I was going through. I talked to a naturopath. It was going to cost a lot of money. Um, and I said, I just didn't have it. I didn't have the means to go a holistic route or alternative route. And so I started doing a lot of research, and I immediately start making lifestyle changes. The very first thing that I did was I boxed up every product that was in my home, whether it was a cleaning solution, whether it was soap, whether it was Bath and Body Works spray, whether it was a perfume, nail polish, makeup, soap powder to wash your clothes, laundry detergent, cleaning solutions, plugins, you name it, I boxed it up and got rid of it. I replaced everything with something clean. I started juicing. I mean, I just did a 360. And that right there, what I learned, and I started to talk to other ladies as I was going through treatment. And I asked, it was funny because during my orientation, I asked the oncology nurse about what are some of the things that I can do to help myself while I was going through treatment. She told me nothing. She said, we have a nutritionist, but nothing. I mean, you eat what you want to eat. The whole thing is we don't want you to lose weight. So eat whatever you want to eat, and you don't need to change anything. And having a background in the sciences, I was like, that doesn't even make sense. But so that was the first thing that really, having that pivotal moment, that no, a lot of people need to be aware of it. My oncologist did mention that sugar feeds cancer. And when I started looking in the infusions room, the things that they were bringing the cancer patients, it was nothing but sugar,
Mm.
and nothing but junk food that was in the infusion center and the snack machines, nothing but sodas in the in the vending machines. And I said, something's got to change. And so through all of that I did, and even, like I said, talking to other women and hearing their experiences, I decided to share or want to share the things that I had learned on my journey, the things that could help me um, in my fight, in my healing and rebuilding process. And so I came up with a project called Kick Cancer. And I don't like to use the word cancer. I know I've been saying it throughout the podcast, but I actually use the word cancer. And the reason why I use the word cancer is because of what cancer could not do. I always
Right.
focused on the things that it did not stop me from walking in his purpose. It did not stop me from, loving up on people and continuously giving back to my community. So that's why I like to use the word cancer. And so we started a project called Kick Cancer through my nonprofit, which is My Style Matters. And what I do is or what we do rather, is we provide care packages to those that are newly diagnosed. Whether you're going the conventional route or whether you're going the non-conventional route, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter the type of cancer you've been diagnosed with. We provide them with a care package. And the care packages are worth over $200. They have everything in there, like I just mentioned. As a start, how I see it is a starter kit to help you get kick started on making those lifestyle changes. So My Style Matters is all about lifestyle changes. And so that's where that moment started. And then my business partner, Sean Lovins, he has an awesome testimony as well. And so through his journey in life and testimony, we also give back to children. We have etiquette programs called the Art of Etiquette, where we teach kids about those lifestyle changes, because it's so much going on in the world, so many crazy things going on in the world, that we really want to help the babies, the next generation that'll be coming up, in terms of making those lifestyle changes and being poised and, using etiquette and understanding how it can actually impact their life in the long term in a positive way. So that's kind of what got me started, with the nonprofit and having those two projects.
Absolutely. That's amazing. You said a couple things. I was listening and I was like, don't jump in, don't jump in. um, but you said a couple things that really resonated with me. You talked about when you were talking to, I think you said you were talking to the nurse, and you said, what can I do as I go through this journey? Like what changes can I make, or what can I do to contribute to this process? And she said, nothing, eat whatever, do whatever, like basically you don't have to change anything. We just gonna kill it with this chemical, and that girl, don't even get me started. I could go off on a rant about the
Yeah.
Western medical system, because they make it seem like they would have you to believe that all your problems can be solved by a chemical that's created in the laboratory. And my sister is actually a chemist. She's a medicinal chemist. And so, like it's like what she does. Not like that. Like, I mean, she's not like one of those, pills fix everything kind of people. She's not one of those people at all. But, it's still just like my sister is a chemist. And that blows my mind that, because I have such an aversion to that industry. Like, I understand that there is benefit there, in the pharmaceuticals industry, there is benefit there. And I understand that. But at the same time, this idea, I feel like it takes away people's ability to participate in their own healing. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Right?
No,
Because
I'm totally on the same page with you. I think back to my journey and, or the beginning of the journey, because it's still a journey. Once you cross that crossover, it's a journey for the rest of your life. And so when I was diagnosed, I did talk to the naturopath and all of that, those things, because I have the education, I have the background. I used to be a chemist as well. And so having that understanding, but I think about people who don't have any kind of understanding. When I went to see my doctor, she said, okay, you were diagnosed with triple negative, and this is the standard protocol, and this is what we're going to use on you. And of course, she said, triple negative is very aggressive. And she told me I didn't have time. And to hear that it was stage 2A, but to hear you don't have time, that is scary. And coupled with the fact that I had felt my breast the week before, didn't feel anything. And then the week after, I felt a huge lump, and it felt like a rock. Everybody don't get, have that kind of feeling in their breast. But in my case, I did. And so it made me think, how fast is this thing growing in my body? And so to hear her say the words, it's aggressive, you don't have time, I'm like, what part do I have to play in making a decision for myself? And so that goes back to the faith that I talked about. I realized there's nothing nobody can do. I just got to stand on faith and allow God to use these people as instruments to help me with my healing. And the part that I played in making a decision for my healing outside of the medicine is I took an integrative approach through my own research, through reading, through having discussions with people, through prayer. There were just things I understood that I needed to do, even though the lady told me there's nothing you need to do, and talking to other survivors where their doctors are telling them, eat ice cream, eat, pizza and burgers because we don't want you to lose weight. Enjoy. No, all of that. I mean, this is my biggest thing, and I'm sorry if I'm going off on a rant, but before I was diagnosed, and you have heard this, and millions of people have heard this, I think everyone in the world has heard this, cancer prevention, exercise and diet, and watch what you eat, and don't eat this and don't eat that, and eat more fruits and vegetables and have a plant-based diet. You hear all of this stress and meditation, You hear all of this as a measure of prevention. But once you're diagnosed, silence. We don't hear about that. As a matter of fact, it's encouraged by some. I'm not going to say all doctors because I have met some that do have a belief in integrative approaches. But to hear that and to have talked to other survivors who have also been told the same thing, or to go into a doctor's office who have just told me sugar feeds cancer, and yet you have a bunch of cookies here and you have candies here for us as survivors, that just didn't send the right message to me. And so, I had to take it upon myself for my life to do my own research.
Yeah.
Let the doctors do their part, but I have to be my own advocate and
Yeah.
question some things and take my own approach.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Like it baffles me. Listen, you said, forgive me for going off on a tangent. And I was saying to myself, girl, I'm about to go there with you. Because I get it. I get it. And I feel like, that's another show for another day. But I definitely get you. I understand exactly what you're saying. And I agree 100%. We have to be active participants in our healing, whether that's physical healing, emotional healing, mental healing, whatever it is. We have to be an active participant in that healing. We can't always just be so dependent on other people or other things, these foreign objects, these foreign substances to heal us and to get us to where it is that we want and need to be at. So I agree with you 100%. Go ahead and let everybody know how they can support your organization, My Style Matters, how they can get in touch with you if that's something that they want to do, how they can get connected with any of the programs that you offer.
Sure. So our website is My Style Matters. That's MYSTYLEMATTERS.org. So that's our website. Our social media handles is at My Style Matters. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter. We also have the Kick Cancer Project. That's also on Facebook. You'll see a lot of stories from other survivors that we help and support. We do post stories about the survivors that we've helped. If there's ever a need, we'll post that on there. We also do Warrior Wednesdays, which is the first Wednesday every month, where we showcase, well, I don't want to say showcase, but we believe that it's important to have our voices to be heard. We don't talk about these things, especially in the Black community. We just don't talk about it. And so it's important for us to share our stories, share our journeys, and to give people hope. And so you can go to Kick Can't, CAN 'T -CER, Kick Cancer on Facebook. You can also make a donation through our website. Facebook also has a donation set up. We also have a group. If you are a survivor and you're in the greater Atlanta area, feel free to join our group. I started a group called My Breast Years Ahead. Join that group. It's a support group for women in the greater Atlanta area. It doesn't matter what type of cancer you've been diagnosed with. It's just an opportunity for us to get together, share our stories, share our journeys, support each other. We've had survivors that have had needs, and the other survivors have just rallied around them. We actually lost one of our survivors. She was battling cervical cancer, 29 years old. So feel free to join that group. If you want to send us an email, you can email us at info@mystylematters.org. That's info, INFO, mystylematters.org. You can find me on Facebook. That's Tiah Tomlin, and connect with me. Just make sure if you do connect with me on Facebook, tell me who you are. I get a lot of inboxes or friend requests, and I'm like, who are these people? So
Girl.
just let me know who you are.
Thank you so much, Tiah, for just coming on and being so open and being so transparent, and just for being you. I mean, you are really a dynamic person. That's the word that comes to my mind. That's the word that my tongue wants to say. You're a very dynamic person. I think that you are a blessing to, the community that you serve. And it's obvious that you genuinely and wholeheartedly care about the work and the service that you are providing. And so that's always a great thing. And I'm always a champion of people who put themselves in a position to be of service to others, who genuinely want to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's because a lot of times that's just not the case. And that's like, girl, I was about to go on another rant, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of times that's not the case, but it's obvious that for you, it absolutely is. And I think you hit the nail right on the head when you were saying earlier that you were put in this journey, you were put on this path and on this journey for a purpose, that you had to go through your own journey of overcoming and kicking cancers, but so that you could fully step into and walk into your purpose. And so I'm excited for you as you continue to grow your organization. I'm excited for all of the women that will be serviced, well, not just women, the people, men and women, who will be serviced, who have been serviced and will be serviced through your organization, because there's a blessing on the work that you're doing. There's a, as the church folks say, there's an anointing on that. And so it's evident. I can feel it. I don't believe you have to be in a room with the spirit in order to feel that spirit. And I definitely feel your spirit. I feel the authenticity in your spirit. And it's been a pleasure. It has. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And one thing I forgot to mention, and I don't know how I forgot it, I got so entrenched in our conversation and enjoyed it. If you are in the Florida area, we have our big fundraiser event is called the 5K Suit Run. And we are actually planning, Florida has reached out to us and said, we want you. So we are planning to have our 2019 fundraiser event at the top of the year in Florida. So stay tuned to our website. We will be making that announcement shortly. So I'm giving you guys a little inside scoop.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the scoop, girl. That's really
Yeah.
exciting. I live in Florida. And
Oh,
so
so
I
you're going
yes.
to come.
So I
Definitely.
definitely be able to come. And if there's anything I can do to be of assistance, let me know, girl. And I'm in there like swimwear, I promise.
All righty.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you again, Tia. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That woman is so inspiring to me, and she is such a wealth of knowledge. Like, the work that she does in her community is so uplifting, and I cannot wait to see her continue to grow. Y'all make
Mhm.
sure you check her out at www.mystylematters.org. Donate to the cause if you can. Volunteer if that's something that you're interested in. Make sure that you're checking yourself regularly, both men and women, because I know I have a lot of men that actually do listen to my show. And do your part to prevent this from happening to you or to one of your loved ones. I definitely need to do a better job of this. Like, I check my breasts often. I mean, since we talking about it or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I do check myself often. Like she said, that's just something that as women we are groomed to do that. So I do check myself often, but the lifestyle changes are really my struggle. But every day is a new opportunity to do something different. And so I'm making those changes a little bit by a little bit. Thank you again to Tia for making time in your busy schedule to sit with me and to share your knowledge with all of us. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you got as much out of this interview as I did just having an opportunity to sit down with her. All right. Coming up next is High Five. This week's high five goes to the March for Black Women, which was held over the weekend in New York City and Washington, D.C. The march was hosted and actually organized by Black Women's Blueprint, which is a movement to place Black women's lives and their particular struggles squarely within the context of the larger racial justice concerns of our communities so that all members of our communities can gain social, political, and economic economic equity, according to their website. So this weekend, they planned two events, one in Washington, D.C., and one in New York City. And when I tell you, thousands of Black women activists and allies came out in support of, really creating a new social contract for Black women. I was really excited to see this. I first learned about this event on blavity.com, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know that this was happening, like in advance, like beforehand. And so I wish that I would have known more about it, but I can't honestly say that, y'all know I don't be on social medias like that, or whatever. But, I am happy to see that this took place, just to see Black women come together and really fight for our rights. We hear all the time how we get left out of these movements and things like that, like the feminist movement and the Me Too movement and all of this kind of stuff, fair pay movement and all of that. They try to lump us in, but the reality is that as Black women, we are a particular subset and we tend to get overlooked. And so the organization put together these marches to really call attention to that, but then also to call attention to their demands. Okay, and so some of the demands, or there's three demands rather, that they are requesting on behalf of Black women. And the first is for full reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, which is set to expire on September 30th. So it technically has already expired. They're also demanding that political hopefuls focus on intersectional women's rights concerning things like poverty, affordable housing, reproductive rights, immigration protections, and, really center the most vulnerable of us. Okay. And then the final thing that they're demanding is for there to be a removal of the gag order on advocacy and prevention focused agencies forbidding the use of the words transgender, fetus, vulnerable, science based, evidence based, diversity, and entitlement, which is some fuckery to begin with. Well, one of the things that I really like about this is that it's inclusive of multi intersectionalities. You know what I'm saying? So they're talking about Black women, but included in that is transgender women as well. And so I really appreciate that there's this air of inclusivity, especially when it's actually targeting or working on behalf of a group that is typically not included. You know what I'm saying? So high five to the March and Rally for Black Women, 2018 March and Rally for Black Women. High five to the Black Women's Blueprint. You can check them out. Check out their website and get more information about them, or follow them on Facebook and things like that to get more information on how you can donate, how you can participate, and join the cause. Because it takes women like this and to put together events like this to call attention. And it might seem like it's just one small thing, but when you keep doing it and people are doing it all over the country, like this was in DC and New York. So if we do another one in the South, if we do one in Dallas and New Orleans and Seattle and wherever, Washington State, like wherever Black women are, if everybody gets together and does their part, then it really begins to move the culture forward and actually move the cause forward as well. So high five to the March for Black Women and all the Black women that are out here really pushing the agenda and taking some hits, taking one for the team, and doing what's necessary for the good of all. All right. All right, so this week's reality check, as promised last week, I'm going to finally do my recap of the last two episodes of Insecure. So, episode 7 and episode 8. First of all, can we all like stand in agreement in saying that 8 episodes is not fucking enough episodes of Insecure and they need to get their whole life together? Because I feel like 8 episodes is barely enough to even get into the story. Like, I want more. I need more, and I need them to like make that happen. I know I'm not the only one. So anyway, that's first and foremost. But secondly, I want to talk about the episodes. Obviously, it's not my thing to really like go into detail about all of the episodes. Like, you can definitely listen to Fran and Crystal's podcast with HBO, Insecurity, in order to like get the blow by blow of the episode. But I do want to touch on a few things from last week's episode and then also this week's episode that really stood out to me that I feel like we can really pull some lessons from. So last week, Nathan came back. And I told y'all I didn't really know how I was gonna feel about that. Like I didn't really know where I was. Like I like the relationship that Issa had with Nathan, how they connected and how like they were really able to be vulnerable with each other and things like that. But then the nigga ghosted. So it's like where did he go? What happened? I didn't like the way that he did that. But I had a feeling that it was something a little bit deeper. So this or last week rather, we found out that Nathan is actually dealing with some mental health issues. What he was describing sounded like some depression maybe or maybe even like a bipolar or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I need more information or whatever. I can't like be diagnosing people and stuff, but I do feel like at the very least, he was describing a depression, and that he kind of goes through these bouts of extreme sadness, and he just didn't want her to see him in that way. And so, what I really appreciated about that scene, first and foremost, was the acknowledgement of a black man struggling with depression. Like that's just not something that we see on a regular basis. And a lot of times, this is what's happening to our black men, and they are not in a place to really be able to like share and open up with us about it. And so they ghosting on us. Now, I'm not saying that every dude that's ever ghosted on you is depressed, and so you should have empathy for him or anything like that. Some of these niggas is just garbage. And I get that. I understand that, girl. Look, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, ain't never going back type of shit. You know what I'm saying? I get that. But it does speak to the reality that a lot of these men, black men in particular, are dealing with things. We talk a lot about black women and the superwoman syndrome and things like that, but black men have their own struggles as well. And a big part of that is this idea of what masculinity is, which is a fallacy. And so they don't really have an opportunity to talk about it. And so like we talked about all season long, there has been this theme of vulnerability this season, and I really, really love it, because vulnerability is the cornerstone of living a genuine and authentic life. You cannot live authentically if you are not allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Now, I'm not saying wear your heart on your sleeves or whatever, but definitely find people that you can open up to. So obviously there was something about Issa that made him feel like he could open up to her, but there was still some part of him that I think was ashamed of his depression and his struggles with mental health. And so we see him kind of push through that, as he started to feel better and then come back around like, yeah, nigga, you've been gone for like a month though. Like where you been? You know what I'm saying? Like what's going on? And I think that ultimately I do think that Issa, I think they're gonna work it out or whatever. Because he didn't have to come back and be honest with her and be real with her. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just being optimistic or whatever. I do that sometimes. I love love and I love black love even more. And so I want to see black couples win. And I think this case is different. It's not your average situation. It's not your average case. It's not like he just ghosted just because he didn't feel like being bothered, or just because, he wasn't feeling her, or he had a side chick or something like that, like what we thought. He's actually dealing with something, like he's dealing with a depression. And so for him to come back and share that with her and open up to her about that, I feel like, he gets some points for that. I'm not even going to lie. And I think that there needs to be a certain level of empathy for understanding his situation. Yes, he needed to handle it differently. Of course, he needed to handle it differently, but these are growing pains, and this is how things happen. And I also like the fact that as he was gone, like the fact that he was gone, we had an opportunity to really see Issa try to process everything that was going on. Was it because of this? Was it because I told him about Mirabitch? Like what was it about me that made him go away? And we really saw what that thought process looks like of internalization. And we internalize things a lot of times that really don't have nothing to do with us. As we see now, this didn't have nothing to do with Issa. Like him leaving for, or ghosting her for however much time that he did, for a month, I think they said, like that didn't have nothing to do with her. And yet she was beating herself up about having been vulnerable with him, when the reality is that it wasn't her cross to bear. You get what I'm saying? And so I appreciated the fact that they allowed us to be able to see that and to see characters kind of move through that experience, because I know I am not the only one who does this to myself. We're so afraid to be vulnerable and to be open with people. And then when we do decide to do it, we forget that these people have their own situations and things going on as well. And we take things personally. You know what I'm saying? And so I was glad that we had an opportunity to see her move through that and work through that. And I think she was right for being pissed or whatever. But I do believe that she's going to give him another chance. And I hope that she does, because I think that they have the potential to be a really good fit for each other. I think she really supports him. Excuse me, he really supports her in a way that she needs to be supported. I think that they are very complementary for each other. I knew the situation with what's his name wasn't gonna work out. Girl, Lawrence. I knew Lawrence wasn't about to come back in there and try to stir nothing up like that. I mean, he's still stirring some things up, because we saw at the end of the finale episode, girl, that he is dating or has gone on multiple dates with the chick that Issa is gonna be collaborating with for the festival or whatever, for the music festival, the street festival. So that's gonna be some bullshit. But I'm excited to see how that storyline plays out as well. A couple weeks ago, when Lawrence came back, one of the things that I wanted to say, I don't think I actually said that, is that I'm glad that Lawrence is back. I mean, I'm not necessarily hashtag Team Lawrence or anything like that. I mean, I think they needed to not be together, but I feel like the show needs Lawrence's perspective. Like those first few weeks of this season when Lawrence wasn't there and we weren't really like checking for Lawrence or whatever, I feel like that male perspective was missing. And the reality, though, is that, we need to have the male perspective. We need to understand that they have just as many awkward black men out there. Like black men are out there trying to figure this thing out just like we are. And so we need to be able to see their perspective and to be able to empathize with their perspective as well, because it helps us to be better partners, but then it also helps us to kind of check some of our own insecurities and not feel the need to take responsibility for so much, because we understand that their shit don't really have nothing to do with us. Does that make sense? I feel like it does. I hope it does. So I'm overall very, very pleased with this season. I feel like season 3, I think it was, of Insecure, I think they did an excellent job. I want more episodes. I want more Kelly. Molly, I'm on the fence about Molly. I know a lot of Mollys. I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of Mollys. Everybody knows a Molly. But I'm still on the fence about Molly's character. Because I feel like I don't know. I feel like they're stretching the character a little bit, and taking it a little bit further outside of the realm of reality than what I really want to see. And so I don't know, I'm gonna see what happens in season 4 and see how things come back around, because like we started the season with Molly wasn't doing shit and we ended the season with Molly wasn't doing shit. And so I really would like to see more movement from Molly's character. I feel like like her character is starting to stagnate a little bit, and I would like to see a little more reality come into play with that character. So That's it. That's my recap. I feel like, this season is really good, and we can learn lessons from anything if we're really trying to do that. And so I love that Insecure gives us lots of opportunities to be able to learn these lessons and to grow and to see ourselves in these characters. I'm really, really excited to see what season 4 is going to bring. I wish we didn't have to wait a whole year to make that happen. But such is life or whatever, I suppose. All right. Shout outs. In terms of shout outs, I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's going to be attending this weekend. I'm so excited, y'all. I'm really looking forward to attending the podcasting conference and to do my show live and everything like that. Shout out to everybody who's purchased a ticket. If you haven't gotten your ticket yet, it is not too late. You can tickets are $25. You can use my special code Unicorns Talk, all caps, 2 words, for $5 off. Just go to apodconnection.com, excuse me, apodconnectionatl.splashthat.com. Make sure you register for the meet and greet when you purchase your tickets, and register for the Sunday brunch at soulfoodsundays.com. That's SOL foodsundays.com. Make sure you register for my free Empower Your Vision Masterclass. Head over to the website. Also, join my free Facebook group, Trust Village. Y'all, I got my new Trust Village swag in the other day, and it is so stinking cute and amazing. And I love it. Also, if you're interested in working with me, I'm going to be announcing over the weekend. I will be announcing some opportunities for you to be able to work with me in a one-on-one setting. And of course, you always know you have the opportunity to work with me via Talkspace and or betterhelp.com. You can ask for me by name on both of those platforms. I am a huge proponent of online counseling, especially for communities of color, you and marginalized communities. Everything is moving online. There's no way around it. And so I love doing the online therapy, y'all, way more honestly than I ever enjoyed like being in a brick and mortar business, private practice. Like I really love it. I feel like my clients, I'm a lot more beneficial to my clients. And so I urge you, if you're considering getting some help, if you're in a place where you feel like you need some help, give it a try, see if you like it or whatever. Most of them, I know Talkspace and BetterHelp both have they have trial periods and stuff like that. I think BetterHelp you can get 1 month free or some shit like that. So give it a try and see what you like. I mean, you literally have nothing to lose. Like you literally have nothing to lose. Give it a try. All right. Follow me on all of the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Unicorns Talk Pod. Make sure you check out the website, listen on the web, or find anywhere that the show is available on the website, unicornstalkpod.com. Also, follow me directly on Facebook and Instagram at Latrice Sampson Richards, on Twitter at L Sam Richards. And I'm looking forward to seeing y'all this weekend. Make sure you come up to me and give me a high five or whatever. And that's all I got for y'all today. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And until next time, be well. Bye, y'all.